have a new year. How about that? And here I am in my little kitchen. You can see another angle of it with my little cupboard behind me, my little Hoosier over here. We're not talking about cupboards and Hoosiers today, though. I published a book in 2020. Maybe some of you have one. Maybe some of you don't know a thing about it. And that would be because, number one, I initially sold out my first shipment, got another shipment, sold out of it, and then I was not able to get any more. And so, anyway, I just didn't promote it. I moved on to other things because I had to. It took me 3 years to write it because it's not about me and it's not a storybook. It's this book, Making It 1928, the making of, what is it? The story of the 1928 jewelry company. I couldn't even remember. Okay. And I always loved 1928 jewelry, and anybody that knows me knows that for a fact. And so I talked to the owner of this company, and he said, yeah, go ahead and write our story because nobody has. And of course they hadn't, because normally books like this don't come out until a company's dead and gone and nobody can remember nothing. And it's hard, and you have to go research everything, but they had all kinds of stuff that they remembered and could show me and share with me, and so it went into this book. But having said that, at the end of the day, I recently realized this book used 1928 sort of as a case history. In other words, a way to show you what it's like to form a design company, or how to show you how to be more effective as a smaller seller, smaller artisan, and how you can achieve your dream of working at home and doing what you love, if that's what you want. Doesn't mean you'll work any less hard, but you can do it. And this book will show you why. Another reason I'll show you why that I think I neglected to tell a lot of people is that Mr. Bernie, who owns the company, allowed me in chapter 8 of this book to tell my story. And it's amazing how it runs parallel to theirs to a point. And that was the cutoff period where I realized I didn't want to be big like him. I want to just have my own little piece of success, raise my child at home, not have to go out to work, and do what I love, provide a little job for some of the people I cared about who like to make jewelry too, and that's what we did. That's what we did. So this book's going to tell you the story about that, how you can do that too if it is your desire. There are a lot of facets to it. But that's why this book is important to a lot of people, whether you're just starting out or whether you've been doing it for a while and you're just not quite getting it and you're floundering a little bit, and you'll have that. You're going to have to reinvent yourself along the way. I've had to reinvent myself at least 5 times and I'm doing it again. But that's, par for the course. But this shows you about how that happens too, because they had to do it and I did also. I've done a lot of things since I made jewelry, a little gift line of jewelry for gift shops. I did a lot of stuff since then. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you about it. Because one of the things I also did was I became an author. So this tells a story, and you might want to look into this book because it's more for you than anybody else. It's for you to learn, oh, that's how they do it. So anyway, so I'm going to bring the book down, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's in the book and why it might be a good book for you to consider having on your shelf as a reference book more than anything. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay, so I'd like to show you some of the stuff that's in this book and why it's really fun, because it tells their history, but that's just it. The telling of their history can help you get started on your journey, believe it or not, because I think this says it in a nutshell. On the back of the book, the notes say, in late 1968, 2 lifelong friends, cousins, decided they'd build a line of costume jewelry based on the pieces you would find in Grandma's jewelry box. But there were 2 big problems with that idea. They didn't know how to make jewelry, and they had no money to fund a business. What? Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it says self-confidence and belief won out over the obstacles, and the two created a design house known today by costume jewelry lovers around the world, the 1928 Jewelry Company. People began to collect 1928 jewelry as soon as it appeared on the department store counters back in the early 70s. And they continue collecting it to this day. Making It 1928 is the story of how two guys with big dreams cleverly crafted a timeless fashion brand that lasted through decades of style trends, making ladies feel beautiful for over 50 years. So, let's say you have no money and your skills are limited. Does that mean you can't be a jewelry designer? Well, they proved it doesn't mean you don't, because they didn't know anything about it. When I started out, and you'll see this in the book too, I started out with a $20 bill and a baby on my hip. And I didn't know much either. In fact, when I started out, I was picking vintage jewelry. I wasn't making anything. I was picking vintage jewelry in the flea markets and the estate and yard sales, and anywhere I could get it cheap, that's where Brenda was. I actually was able to make a living doing it. I don't know today if it would be as easy as it was then to pick vintage jewelry, but I guess it depends on where you live. It depends on where you live. But I did it. And it wasn't too terribly long before I was able to quit my day job, which was being a cleaning lady, and just concentrate on picking jewelry. So I got that far on a $20 bill, building things up. Then, after that, I started to repair bits and pieces of it, because I thought, well, I should know how to do that after all. I'm finding broken stuff, and all you have to do is a little bit of this and that. Now it's right again. You put it right and you can sell it, and wow, you money from nothing, as they say, money for nothing. So I went from there to thinking, well, this is kind of fun. This is kind of fun seeing how this stuff is made. And so some of the pieces I left broken so that I could examine how they were made. And right about that time, one of my customers for Bakelite pieces wrote to me, and she sent me a box of junk. And she sent me pictures, and she said, this is what they're doing in craft shows down here in Florida. I think you could do this. And it was, assemblage jewelry. People are still doing it, repurposing jewelry and mixing it all together and making something else out of it, which is nothing wrong with that so long as you're not damaging something of value. And that's another video, which I've already done those, and you can look back for them. But anyway, so I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I can do that. I just kept at it, and she was right, I could do it. And finally I had beer flats full of stuff I had hot glued, of all things. Hot glued together. Oh no. And I thought, if I'm going to do this and spend all this money in a craft mall and picking jewelry that's busted to do this, I better get seeing if I can sell any of it, because it makes no sense to make all this stuff and not ever sell any. So I decided to do a little tabletop show. I'd have $20 for that. And a friend of mine went with me, a friend Nancy, and we did that show. And we were stuffing money into our pockets the whole time. Of course, the earrings were $2 and $3, so it probably had something to do with it. And it was curious because nobody around here was making jewelry like that. Really wild, friendly plastic jewelry and polymer clay stuff and stuff all pasted and glued together, and paper jewelry and then the broken chotch. So, but yeah, I was making money out of the gate. I was like Mel was with Mr. Bernie with 1928. He was in the right place at the right time, and so was I. Doesn't mean you still can't make it if you have to struggle a little bit more, but at the very beginning I didn't. I made money right away, and pretty soon I was making more jewelry than picking old stuff. But anyway, so I followed along with what they did, and there are pictures in this book that show you, this is what they call a recipe board. I still own this, and it would show you all the pieces, parts that were in a piece, in a necklace piece, and all the measurements and stuff, so that when they went back to make it again, they didn't have to figure it out again. They had it all done and costed out. And sometimes on the back, they would show more parts. You know how they do it. I still have a whole big box full of these that Mr. Bernie gave me. And some of them are going to be turning up on Etsy soon, so watch for them. They are rare, rare history, 1928 jewelry company. But beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. Great book to read, but mostly great book to read for you as an artisan, because you want to know how it's done. And, oh, you know what, before I shut this, let me just show you how did I get started with 1928. I got started with 1928 the way many young women did. They were getting married, and they needed jewelry. And they saw 1928 jewelry in magazines, like Glamour Magazine, 17 Magazine, Harper's Bazaar, Elle, all those. And they want to know where could they buy it. And that was me. I want to know where I could buy it. So I wrote to the company, and I asked them if I could get 6 of this necklace that I saw in a magazine. And they said, no, we can't do that because we only sell to wholesale, store accounts. But we will send 6 of them to the Halley Brothers Company in Cleveland, which I'm sure is a department store is long out of business, but it was really hot stuff back then. And you could pick them up there. Well, Cleveland was just far enough away, and I had a really junky old car. So there was no going to Cleveland for Brenda. So I had to pass on it. But I never forgot their consideration and getting in touch with me and saying, here's how we can do this, I never forgot that they sent me that letter, and I kept it for the longest time, and I wish I'd still had it whenever I wrote this book. And also what's interesting, this tells all about my wedding, and this is a picture of the pattern that was actually, it is the pattern that I used to make my wedding dress. And
cool.
Redesign it. So anyway, and this picture is my great-grandmother and grandfather. They got married in the Edwardian times, 1908. So definitely Edwardian type clothing. They were quite dapper, I must say. They were school teachers. They were school teachers, and their parents were Amish, if you can believe that. I guess they decided not to be Amish. But I do, this is a side point, but I do know my grandmother spoke Pennsylvania Dutch quite well. So anyways, going on, when you go to the contents of the book, getting back to the subject, Brenda, when you read through the contents of the book, you'll easily see why this is so much for you, because it shows, like, in the beginning what happened. They made their first pieces on a kitchen table, the same way as I did, and oh so many of the rest of you did. Very common place to start as a designer. And then becoming designers, the different things they had to go through to, because they had to learn balance and style and, all that stuff. And the thing was, is Mr. Bernie and his cousin Richard did this. Mr. Bernie was full of drive and sales, and how to, put the company together and all that. Richard, he was such an artist. He painted, and he'd also been a singer. He was trying to make a living as a singer, and you'll read about that in the book. And he had an uncle who was in the fine jewelry business, or I can't remember entirely. You'll have to read it's in here. And so he had the eye. So what I'm trying to say is, between the two of them, they really were like total synergy between the two of them. So if you are fortunate enough to have a partner that you can stick with it together, oh, that's great. But sometimes partnerships, I will just caution you, sometimes partnerships fall apart, and you'll read about that in here too. But it goes on, from doing it at home to moving it somewhere where they could be more professional. It talks about how to chase some business, how to make the money, how they made the jewelry step by step. So you're going to see in here pictures of how they did it. Let's see, it's in chapter 7. Let me see if I can find that for you real quick. Yeah, no, this is back where they have all their molds and models. This is all their storage for their stuff. Looks a little bit like our place, except ours is really small. Oh, right here. It shows how they cast the parts is in here. You're going to learn about how jewelry is made. Here's where the workers work. This is just one small place of it. They at one time had 1,250. That's it. The numbers are messed up in my head. 1,250 people worked at 1928 at one time in 2 shifts. That's how much jewelry they made. So they really, really, really got big. And I really, really, really didn't want to get that big. So what did I do? Well, we go back here. There's lots of pictures of their jewelry in here too. You can get inspiration from that. It's not chapter 8. I think it's 9. I'm almost there. No. 10. Big fish, little fish. This is the chapter you want to read when you see the comparison of what they did in their journey as compared to what I did. And I think you'll find it encouraging because you'll realize, yes, you can do this if you want to do the work. It'll never happen if you don't want to do the work. If you just want to dream, or if you just enjoy your art and you just want to make a few things and sell a few things, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want your business to grow and to do something for you so you can become self-supporting, stay home and do what you love, you can do what you want. You really can if you put the time into it. So this is going to tell you how I did it. And this also is something I wanted to point out to you at the end of that chapter. This is a note that I found out in the design room in 1928. I got to be able to spend a lot of time out in the very place where all these things happened over the years. And it says, these were big points when the designers were making things in 1928 that they were supposed to keep in mind at all times. Can it be worn by any age woman? Can it be worn year-round, all seasons? Can it be worn dressy or casual? Do I love it? And is it a good value? So that's another thing, like a lot of times I preach, I'll say, okay, I call them big opus pieces. That big assemblage piece that I first showed you, that's a big opus piece. That's just a big honker, So, those are fun to make, and I have sold a lot of them, but when you make them, you've got to understand, do you have a market for that? Are there people going to buy that? If you have a worldwide market, say you sell it at Etsy or eBay, or you have your own website with it, you have a worldwide market, so you have a bigger, broader chance of selling things that are huge statement pieces, maybe than you might if you sold them in your hometown. I know in my hometown that would not work, No criticism, just it wouldn't, But, so you have to keep that in mind. Is it good at value, and how much is it going to end up costing? For example, most costume jewelry that is priced as well-made costume jewelry is well priced. If it's priced out between $22 and $55, it'll sell. If it's got anything going on and is made well at all, it'll sell if you can stay there. Now, in some areas, that's too much. So you just have to figure, okay, so now what can I do? And other places, you can go way up from there. It just depends, But anyway, I did mention to you how Mr. Burney had allowed me to develop a line of parts that were made from the models out at the factory. I spent many, many, many happy days out there. Oh, what I learned when I was at that factory. Oh, my goodness. But these are pieces that were made from those pieces. Monica Ragney made this. How about this? If you know anything about me and the people who follow me, you know that Beansy made this. This is from the Vintage Heart. A lot of parts in here from 1928. Lots. This one was made by Danielle Clark. She has a very elegant, simple style. Mr. Burney, every time he would see this picture and he saw a number, he would say, "I hire her any day." This is a 1928 designer. That was his look. Simple, keep the cost down,
and
make
classic.
It classic, timeless. That was very important. And that's why they did a lot of vintage look, because it is. It's classic and timeless. Let's see. Lisa made this one. Lisa Mitchum. Karen Eaton made this one. Another classic, pretty piece. Mr. Burney also liked this line, if you can zero in on it. This is from Erica Price. And Erica is a lampwork and silversmith, lampwork artist and silversmith. She's got chops, but she loved working with 1928 pieces parts. Still, there are more pieces here. Debbie Nicholas made this. Maki made this with the tassel, the gingerbread stuff. Jan made this, Marcia made this, Lisa Mitchell made this. But as you go through it, all kinds of things. These are pieces I made right here. This is a line that I did. Okay, not for 1928, for me. And I sold it pretty quickly. So we used the tassel. This tassel, this piece was in Bell Armor also, which I'm looking forward to doing another article for Bell Armor real soon. These are some pieces from that line. We had it in old silver, we still do have some. Old silver, 22 karat gold, and then we had a little bit of black, matte black too. Not much of that left. Beautiful pieces, look how lovely they are. How much fun would those be to create with? Well, they were. Definitely. So, it just goes on from there to tell, what the company is like now and how things, came around, and they're still going. They're still going strong. They're still making jewelry in Burbank, California. And you can still be making jewelry wherever you are. I'm still making jewelry in East Palestine, Ohio. And I started making jewelry, like late 80s. I'm still making jewelry. Now I have a parts company. Now I'm an author. Now I teach you guys. I teach classes. I just do all kinds of stuff, And you will too, because you will evolve and grow, and you'll have to reinvent yourself from time to time because things change. And you'll see when it's time, and you'll know all about that. So I just want to impress upon you, we have these books at my site. I'm having them drop shipped from Burbank. I think they have 50 copies left, and then we've all got to reorder them. But we're going to see how it does, because I don't want this book going out of print. And the big reason is because two things. I put 3 years of my life into this book, writing it, to make it good. And I had really good help to write, because I'm not that good of a writer by myself. I had really, really good editors to help me with this. And then I really wanted it to be for you. And he allowed me to do that. Even though it's the story of his company, I drag out every little thing as how it applied to me and how it applies to you. So you will learn from reading this book. So if you like, you can get paperback copies just like this one at my website, bsuboutiques.com. And I'm going to put the URL in the description of the video. This is for you kids. Be sure you find a way to take time to read it. And don't forget, I forgot to mention at the beginning, like, subscribe, and please, if you wouldn't mind, leave me a comment under the video, because those comments help our ranking at YouTube. They help more people to find us. They'll help more people to find this book, which will help them if they want to become a jewelry designer, because everything you need to know about that is in here. So have a great day, and I can't wait to meet with you again. Also, this week on Wednesday, we had a live video about dyeing bone beads and making stuff out of them, which is like super fun. Has nothing to do with this kind of jewelry, but just to remind you, if you do not see it, go back and watch it, because those Coffee House Bisu's Kitchen videos are a hoot. So anyway, that's what happened this week, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment.